Game week 30 is here, so it's time to lock in those FPL teams. Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan. There's still a lot to discover with the FA Cup results coming this weekend, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing with my FPL team already. So first, let's cast our eyes back to Game Week 30, and for me, it was a red arrow. A small one, but a red arrow nonetheless. And I have to say, this was one of my more depressing red arrows, because really until the final game of Game Week 29, where Manchester United faced up against Leicester, I was actually on a really big green arrow. But one man had changed all of that. Bruno Fernandes. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to me when I say that if you didn't have Bruno, maybe Elanga, maybe Milenkovic, someone like that, a big hauling player, then you probably got a red arrow, even if it was a small one. But regardless, we did survive this big week without the use of a free hit. And there were certainly some positives to be taken. Certainly captaining Haaland worked out pretty well. We did have that injury to Palmer, which was a little unexpected. And the -4 to bring in Hudson-Odoi to make sure I didn't have to play Dango Ouattara for his benching didn't exactly pay off, let's put it that way. But overall, it's not that bad, I guess. I'm not happy with my rank currently. I think I can do a lot better. I do feel I have been unfortunate at times, but I'm sure a lot of people had it a lot worse than me, and I have seen some much lower scores than the 54 -4 points that I had in Game Week 29. So onwards and upwards from here. I hope we've got a chip strategy in mind and I'm ready to implement it. But before we look at my team for Game Week 30, unfortunately, it is going to be a yellow card for you. You're going into the book, and it might become a red card if you don't like the video very, very soon. So make sure you do like. It massively helps out the channel, and do subscribe as well if you are new around here. So here's my situation, guys. The plan is to wildcard in Game Week 31, which means we have one more game week and one more free transfer to potentially use ahead of Game Week 30 if we think we can improve our team. And I think that's going to be the question in a lot of people's minds. Do you use your free transfer now, or do you save it, roll it through the wildcard? Remember, this season you can actually save transfers and still have access to those transfers through and past a wildcard. It's not a case of a one-week punt anymore. You will have 2 free transfers if you save one, if you roll one after your wildcard, assuming you are wildcarding it in Game Week 31, of course. So let's see where we're at. We've got no money in the bank, 1 free transfer, as I mentioned, and Pickford is the first player I have on my field, and it's not a very good start, is it? Liverpool away from home is definitely not an easy fixture, and really from Everton, I'm just hoping for some save points from Pickford, because that's pretty much the best I'm going to get. A clean sheet would be remarkable, but I'm not expecting it to happen. So we have to weigh up the option. Is it really worth spending a transfer on a goalkeeper? 90% of the time, the answer is no. So I'm not going to do that. Let's move on into defense, where we have Gabriel as the first defender. Another clean sheet for Arsenal last week. It seems to be a clean sheet every other week for the Gunners, and I hope that can continue, but maybe not exactly this week, because a clean sheet last week usually implies it's going to be a no clean sheet this week. It seems to be that way with Arsenal at the moment, and you know, if the pattern continues, this is the week where there will be no clean sheet. That said, Arsenal, let's not be superstitious about patterns. We know Arsenal are a top defence in the Premier League, and Fulham at home, even though it's not a great fixture, the fact that it's at home could mean that a clean sheet is possible here. We see Arsenal keep clean sheets even against the top teams in the Premier League, so it's not too much of a concern. I do think Arsenal are reasonably fixture-proof when it comes to clean sheets, maybe with the exception being brilliant teams like Liverpool. We've got Kirkes here in defence as well, and it's a good time to own him. 3 assists in the last 3 games, so he seems to be getting assists every game. It's just a case of Bournemouth keeping clean sheets, and that has not been the case at all. They are conceding multiple goals every week, so Kirkes is ticking along very, very nicely. But if we want those mega hauls from him, we're going to need some clean sheets and some bonus points from him as well, because those 4 pointers, whilst they're nice, we want a little bit more. Ipswich at home is a fabulous opportunity for that, so fingers crossed this week Kirkes can finally get that clean sheet that I have been dreaming of. And Nico Williams is going to be my final defender this week. He is a player I bought in last week, didn't quite come off with Nottingham Forest conceding those 2 goals to Ipswich, despite keeping back-to-back clean sheets against Man City and Arsenal. But against another big team in Manchester United at home, can they turn around their fortunes? I think it's a possibility, and I want to feel too confident about this one. I feel it could go either way, but what we have seen from Nico Williams is he does provide a little bit of attacking threat as well, which is quite nice for the cheap Nottingham Forest defensive man. Let's move into midfield. We have got Mo Salah. A lot of people maybe sold him last week because of that blank game week, but I'm pretty happy to have him back in my team. But there is going to be a question about whether you captain Salah or not, and we are going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. Of course, he did do very well the last time he faced Everton. That was away from home, but typically Salah has actually been a little bit weaker when playing at home. But a weak Salah is still phenomenal, so let's not get it twisted there. Cole Palmer is a really interesting one. Let's have a look at Cole Palmer and his latest injury update. Well, it's pretty positive. He is back in training now, and given that Palmer and Chelsea don't face Spurs at home all the way until Thursday in Game Week 30. It's the last fixture of the game week. That actually gives Palmer a good amount of time to get fit, available for this fixture. But I think if you do have Palmer in your team, you maybe do want a little bit of bench cover there. And there could be a consideration to transfer him out if you're not too confident in him. And let's be honest, there's not been too much confidence in Palmer generally at the moment. But Spurs is the next fixture. It is at home. Spurs have been one of the worst defenses in the Premier League, and things aren't going too well around their camp at the moment. So I do wonder if anyone is going to break Palmer's curse, it is going to be Spurs. They seem like the exact kind of team that will capitulate in a game like this. And as a neutral fan of football, whenever I'm watching teams that are not Arsenal play, I always enjoy Chelsea versus Spurs because it always brings so many goals. It's a really, really good Premier League game, and I think this could provide some goals. I'm just hoping that it comes Palmer's way, assuming he is fit and available, which it looks very, very positive right now. I'd be surprised if he didn't start. Maybe 90 minutes might be asking a little bit too much. Bryan Mbeumo is the next player in my team, and I want to talk a little bit about this Newcastle versus Brentford fixture, because really, I think on paper, this probably looks pretty bad, right? But actually, I don't know if that is necessarily the case, and that is for two separate reasons. So the first reason is if we have a look at the defensive numbers for the teams in the Premier League over the past 10 game weeks, we can see that for expected goals conceded per game, we see Newcastle falling into the bottom half of the table. They really haven't been a super strong defense over recent game weeks, over the past few months. So to assume that Newcastle are a good team in defense is maybe a little bit generous to Newcastle, because they are putting up poor numbers. They are conceding goals as well. And then we have the factor that this is a home fixture for Newcastle. Surely that is going to improve things. But let's take a look now at Brentford and their recent results, and we can see that Brentford actually are performing far better away from home at the moment. They're getting wins after wins after wins, 5 wins in a row in the Premier League away from home, and their home form has actually been a little bit more worrisome. So I do think that this is actually a really good opportunity for your Brentford guys. If you're worried about players like Mbeumo and Wissa, I actually think if we really deep it, we really look into what the actual situation is, on paper, it looks tough. But when we look at what's actually going on in the Premier League with these two teams, actually it doesn't look so bad. Brentford have actually been in the better form defensively, I would say. And Brentford, playing very well at the moment. Still a lot to play for them. And I do genuinely believe they could get the result against Newcastle. But Newcastle coming off the back of a League Cup victory, is there going to be some motivation there to push on and go for Champions League places? Or is there going to be a little bit of a hangover, I guess? That remains to be seen. We can look at all the micro factors, but I just wanted to point out a couple of positives, actually, for Brentford against Newcastle this week. But anyway, we have got one more midfielder, and that is going to be Justin Kluivert, who has been in phenomenal form this season. 12 goals in the Premier League, which is really nice. And we have this fixture against Ipswich at home, who are still conceding a lot of goals, as we saw against Forest last week, for example. Bournemouth, you would say, that are actually in attack, are maybe even a stronger team than Nottingham Forest. So could they put Ipswich to the sword? Absolutely. Can Kluivert be involved? Fingers crossed. I'm sure a lot of you guys will be rooting for him. Penalties as well. These crazy long shots he's taking, and creativity from Kluivert, which he has introduced more into his game over recent game weeks. There's been really positive signs there. So I do like Kluivert. I think he definitely could get a result here, despite maybe some disappointment in Game Week 29. This is a much better fixture. It is at home. This is a good team, and I think they're going to be ready to go. So let's move up front now. We've got Erling Haaland here. Leicester at home. Now, this is the other big captain option this week, I would probably say. It's a really nice opportunity because when we look at all of the Premier League teams at the moment, yes, we might have said a few months ago that Southampton are the worst team in the Premier League, but really it looks like Leicester have just completely fallen off, completely given up. They look completely out of sorts, and there doesn't even really seem to be very much fight in them. And we saw that, for example, in the recent game against Manchester United, where Bruno dominated in that game. Now, is it Haaland's turn to do the same domination? Well, I think there is definitely a strong possibility here. And if we look at the kind of who we're expecting to score this game week, then obviously Salah's going to be in that conversation, but Haaland has to be up there as well. So really exciting, really, if you have Man City players for this game week, because Man City are getting results. They are improving and pushing. They have to focus on the Premier League as well as the FA Cup, assuming they are still in it by the time you guys watch this video. But Haaland, this is a big opportunity, man. I'm excited about it. Don't doubt Haaland. Don't write him off. He proved a pretty decent captain last game week. Can he do it again? Can he do more? This is the opportunity. This is the real dream fixture of the game week, and we're going to deep it a little bit more in a minute. First of all, want to talk about Wissa. We mentioned how I actually quite like this fixture for Brentford against Newcastle, and that has not changed when it comes to Wissa, who's been in really good form. 3 goals in the past 4 game weeks. That is really nice indeed. And he's finally found that flair that maybe he fell off a little bit, but he is so back right now. So excited about him. And Evan Nilsson is my final forward, and he's another player I'm really excited about. Fun fact about Evan Nilsson, by the way. So he's been back for 2 Premier League games. He did also play in the FA Cup where he scored, but in the last 2 Premier League games where he has been starting, no player has put up better non-penalty XG numbers than Evan Nilsson. So he is genuinely getting a lot of chances. He's genuinely playing very, very well, and this is a fabulous fixture for him against Ipswich, as we have previously mentioned. Now let's have a look at the forwards in a little bit more general, or the midfielders and the forwards, because I want to have a look at these numbers for projected goals. We've also got the clean sheet odds on here, by the way, guys. We can run through that very quickly. Arsenal, as always, best clean sheet odds, no matter who they play. They are always good for a clean sheet, right? We've got Man City there, Liverpool there as well. Bournemouth for 42% at home against Ipswich, which maybe surprised me to see Bournemouth ahead of Crystal Palace, but there you go. Bournemouth better clean sheet odds, so maybe my Bournemouth players can beat the Crystal Palace players. The projections here are certainly suggesting that. I think that is maybe down to the away fixture for Crystal Palace there. We also see Nottingham Forest here, 29% clean sheet odds, so that's pretty good for me as well. So there you go, those are the clean sheet odds for you. But I wanted to look at these projected goals. Man City clear here. 3 projected goals is really high. Yeah, we don't see that too often in the Premier League. This is some of the higher numbers we will see all season for this fixture. So Man City, if you think that Haaland is maybe involved in half of the goals for Man City, we're looking at 1.5 goals for Haaland. That would be really, really good. Or, you know, and assists maybe, because there is a bit of creativity there. So yeah, Haaland against Leicester, can he do it? Can he punish them? Certainly. I think it's definitely a possibility. If you have Marmoush in your team as well, you're probably going to be pretty excited about this one. So Man City against Leicester, that is the highest amount of goals we're expecting from an individual team this week. Of course, we will update you with the odds as they change closer to the deadline. Bournemouth also up here in second place, actually, at home against Ipswich. 2.4 projected goals here. We also see Chelsea against Spurs, 2.3 projected goals. Liverpool, 2.15. Newcastle, 2.1. So a little bit lower, but still pretty high here. Arsenal, not really a team to score too many goals at the moment, to be honest, so I'm surprised to see them even at 1.95, because I do genuinely rate Fulham as a defence, generally speaking. Then we see the likes of Brighton and Crystal Palace a little bit lower. Again, I'm sure a few of you guys are surprised to see the likes of Crystal Palace and maybe even Forest so low down. Against Southampton, it is an away fixture. Home versus away hasn't really been too much of a factor this season, but over longer periods of time, we do typically see that our home teams are usually perform a little bit better. So I wonder how true that will be. I hope this is true. I don't have any Crystal Palace players in my team currently, so I would like it if, you know, Crystal Palace don't destroy Southampton, and hopefully it will be the likes of Man City, Bournemouth and Chelsea who, as projected, do get the goals, because I do have a lot of players from these teams. Now, let's have a look now at the anytime goal scorer odds, and this assumes a start. So you are going to see Dango Ouattara on this list. So if Dango Ouattara starts, this will be his projected goal percentage. We see Haaland at number 1, 64%, really destroying the competition here. But actually, Cole Palmer is in second place with 49%, just ahead of Isak, who is going to be a major threat to my rank. But very pleased to see that Evan Nilsson is in 4th place, considering he is a super differential. If he performs, then hopefully I can gain rank where a lot of other people who don't have Evan Nilsson will maybe lack a little bit. So a brace would be really nice for him if that's at all possible. But I certainly think it is, given recent performances for the Bournemouth man. We see Marmoush up here, Salah down a little bit lower, which maybe suggests we could have a opportunity to captain someone else this week. And of course, we expect to see Mateta in here as well. Dango, Foden, Cliver, Wood, Semenyo, all up here as well. So we have a lot of players from this list, by the way. Also in the top kind of 20, we do have the Brentford guys and Burmo and Wissa. But it's really nice to see, looking through my team, that I have a lot of the players who play for the teams with high projected goals and individually have high projected goals as well. So again, on paper, my team actually looks really good for Game Week 30. I don't feel that I need a wild card, even though I don't have Crystal Palace players. I think I've got enough good players from other teams with equally, if not better, opportunities this week to actually really do some damage. So that's basically what I'm doing. I think with my current rank, need to take some more risks, and one of the risks I'm going to be taking this week will be betting against Crystal Palace against Southampton, and really hoping that my guys, my Bournemouth guys in particular, maybe Cole Palmer, maybe my Brentford guys, and Erling Haaland, of course, can really do some damage where not everyone owns all of these players, kind of thing. So it's kind of a strategic thing, bit of game theory. Definitely respect that Crystal Palace players are really, really good. And if I was playing a safer game, I'd probably be bringing in a Sarr or a Mateta, or maybe even Daniel Munoz. But really, for me, it's about taking some risks now. But let's have a look at my bench before we talk about captaincy. Fabianski is going to stay there. Hudson-Odoi, nice backup for Palmer, but I would rather have Palmer play. Castagna away against Arsenal, not really feeling that, but it wouldn't be the end of the world, I don't think. You know, I totally see a world where Arsenal fail to score in the game against Fulham. I don't think Saka is going to be quite ready to start in that game. So, yeah. I'm not super confident. But anyway, Hall is the final player here. He is injured, out for the season, and he will be removed from my team when I play my wild card. But right now, I feel my team is good enough that I don't need to spend that free transfer, and I can roll it beyond my wild card in Game Week 31. So let's talk about captaincy. And this is my personal opinion on captaincy. Now, as we've already kind of looked at and seen, when it comes to the projected goals, who's got the best chance of scoring a goal this game week, Haaland is unchallenged at the top, really. So if you're looking for that mega haul, Haaland is probably the guy you would go for. Now, Salah can never be underestimated, and Everton are a strong defence, don't get me wrong. But in a derby game, home, even though Salah has been slightly worse at home, I still think that, Salah is your safe guy. Most people will captain Salah. Most people will own Salah in Game Week 30. And, maybe some people won't have him. So you could have a small opportunity with Salah to capitalize on those who sold him last week and are not bringing him back. So there is still something to be gained from captaining Salah in Game Week 30. But I think if you want to take a big risk, if you're not happy with your rank, that is definitely me, then taking a risk on Erling Haaland, these are the kind of moments that we want to take those risks. I think certainly we look for opportunities. When is it time to be risky? When is it time to play a little bit safer? I think it's pretty crazy that I'm saying it is risky to captain Haaland against Leicester. But at this point, when you ever challenge Salah, you are always taking a risk. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week. I will be captaining Haaland against Leicester. My season is pretty much in the bin at this point. I want to take some big risk. I want to make some big moves, and then we'll go to the chip strategy. I think it's really going to change the game for me, hopefully. So yeah, Haaland captain, Salah vice captain, just for that security. And now I want to talk a little bit about my chip strategy as well, just to give you an update of where my head is at. So guys, we are on the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool, where my team currently has a rating of 86%. I think that's partially due to the fact I don't have Crystal Palace players. Palmer is potentially injured. He is flagged, which does impact his predicted points. And also, captaining Haaland against Salah. Salah actually has slightly higher projected points here, or predicted points, according to the Hub algorithm. But I think I'm going to challenge it this week. I think a few of my players have been underrated, like the Brentford guys, like the Bournemouth guys as well, like Evan Nilsson, for example, because he only has a small sample size recently. But I have that confidence that these players could really still do well. But I said I was going to talk about chip strategy, so that is what I'm going to do. So I am recording this video just before the Crystal Palace versus Fulham game in the FA Cup takes place, or should I say Fulham versus Crystal Palace. And really, a lot of my chip strategy depends on this game, because if Crystal Palace lose in the FA Cup, that means they're not going to have back-to-back double game weeks anymore. No chance of that happening in game week 30, 32 and 33. They will double in 32, but won't double in 33. So actually, if I want to have triple Crystal Palace in game week 32, I'm not going to want to have triple Crystal Palace in game week 33, especially when you add Newcastle, who I'm going to, again, want triple in 32, but not in game week 33 if they only have a single game week there. So therefore, a lot of my chip strategy is going to be around that, but not just that, also about where the fixtures are rescheduled to. Are they going to be the games that are postponed, moved from game week 30, 33, 34, are they all going to be moved into game week 33? Or is there going to be a more even spread around? And again, that is going to impact my chip strategy. So currently, if Crystal Palace lose, I'm likely to bench boost in 30, a wildcard in 31, bench boost 32, and in 33, I'll use my free hit. If Crystal Palace win, then I'm more likely to use, well, again, wildcard 31, and then we will free hit in game week 34. Bench boost will move to game week 33. But I'm waiting on not just that result, but the other results in the FA Cup to really more define the chip strategy, as well as rescheduling expectations. And we will be taking you through all of that stuff after the FA Cup games finish. After Sunday evening, I will be working through the night to make sure there is a video on Monday, so you guys will know exactly what is going on and what the implications are, and start making some really strong predictions on when the doubles and blanks are going to be, because I don't think we're going to get definitive information before the game week 30 deadline. And that is, again, why I am looking to postpone my wildcard until the game week 31 deadline, because I think we'll have a much clearer picture and maybe some official announcements by then. But a lot of chip strategy is going to be impacted by the results of this weekend's FA Cup games, not just Crystal Palace and Fulham, but all of the other teams as well. So we'll give you a big update. That will be the next video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. If you are subscribed, or maybe you're not subscribed, make sure you do have notifications on ready for that video, because we're going to take you through it all, give you the all of the best chip strategies depending on which chips you have available, and I think it's really going to help you out a whole bunch. But anyway, guys, check out Fantasy Football Hub using the link in the description if you would like to. Please do like the video as well, massively helps. Subscribe if you're new around here. Check out Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid if you want to, and I will see you on the next video for a updated chip strategy guide with far more information than ever before. See you later, mates. Bye-bye.